Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. I'm Mark. Today we're here to ask and answer one question. What is a white wine reduction? And I'm the total idiot that's here to guide you through this because I've never made one before. As with most times when I don't know what I'm doing, I looked on the internet and I processed a bunch of recipes. There are a bunch of ways to do this. The most traditional seems to be to boil white wine and white wine vinegar with some shallots before adding a bunch of butter. There are some easier recipes that have you add things like cream or broth or something like that, and then you get like 2 tablespoons of butter. I decided to play on hard mode. If we screw it up and it doesn't work, we'll do it easy mode. So let's get to it. So the first thing that we're going to do is cube a bunch of butter. This is 1 pound of butter. Does the kind of butter matter? Yes, you want unsalted. And the more you're willing to spend on your butter, the higher the quality of the butter will probably be. I'm not using very expensive butter because, like I said, it's the first time. I have no idea if I'm going to do this right. Next up, we're going to go ahead and chop our shallots. We're going to finely chop our shallots. I'm going to go ahead and cut the nubbins off on the end and cut north to south. With that taken care of, we're going to rotate. And then we're going to cut the other way. Then take care of any stragglers. I'm using a recipe I found on the Spruce Eats for this. Sometimes I make up my own recipes. This seems like a very traditional thing, and I'm not sure that you can make a new recipe for it at this point, but we're also going to go off script a little bit, and I'm going to mince up some garlic. I like garlic, so we're going to add it to the sauce. So I've got 1 cup of white wine. This is a highly rated Sauvignon Blanc that costs less than $15. Remember, the rule is if you wouldn't drink it, don't cook with it. This is a 1/2 cup of white wine vinegar. I've moved the shallot and the garlic to the saucepan. I'm pouring in the liquids. Now I'm going to bring this to a boil. And this is where we get the first answer to our question. All you're doing when you're reducing is removing the water from something. When you remove the water, you concentrate the flavors, right? So we're boiling the wine, we're boiling the vinegar. They both have water in them. The water boils out and evaporates. You wind up with about 2 tablespoons of liquid at the bottom of this pan, and then we wind up with flavor concentrated, right? You can boil the water out, it turns into steam, but all the flavors and sugars and crap that are in the wine and the vinegar and all the acids, they stay. After that, we drop in the butter, which creates an emulsion. An emulsion is where you take 2 things that shouldn't be able to go together and you create a situation where they have to go together. The easiest one of these is oil and vinegar. Salad dressing, right? Pretty basic, pretty simple. Another common one is mayonnaise. Another common one is mayonnaise. Once it starts boiling, we're going to boil it for 30 or 40 minutes, keeping an eye on it to make sure that it doesn't burn or scorch or do anything awful. Don't be afraid to turn the heat down once you get it super low like this. In fact, at some point you're going to want to strain out. Usually you strain out this stuff at the end, but I want to see how much sauce I have. So that's a whoopsie doodle right there. I'm down to about 2 tablespoons worth of liquid, and my fish isn't ready at all. So I'm going to make the fish. I'm going to leave this here, and then I'm going to figure things out. Kill the heat. Okay, my fish, such as it is done. I'm not very good at fish, so... Anyway, the focus of this is the sauce anyway, so we'll be okay. I'm bringing this to a quick boil. I strained the last almost 2 tablespoons into my measuring glass, and then I used a smaller saucepan because, well, why not? I also had this butter in the freezer. We're going to whisk it in 2 at a time. Boom, we're boiling. Cut the heat. Well, turn it down. Add 2. Whisk. Now the emulsion, you can see, is the color that you get when the butter is part of the sauce. The butter is not separate from the sauce. It's in there, like swimwear. Add in 2 more pads of butter. Keep it going. Now, if this gets too hot, the sauce will start to separate. So we're going to want to control the heat as much as we can. I read on the internet that it's about 120 degrees Fahrenheit is when it starts to separate. And we're going to do, again, 2 at a time. Don't go nuts with it. One of the reasons that I stuck the butter in the freezer for 15 minutes is because if the sauce breaks, one of the ways that you bring it back is by adding chips of ice. But if my butter has been in the freezer, then my butter is the chips of ice, so it's a little more likely to stay together. But if it goes wrong, your temperature is either too high, or you're whisking not hard enough, or something like that, according to my research. I turned the heat up just a little bit because the bottom was starting to solidify. We don't want it to solidify. If you wanted to cheat, you could use heavy cream, maybe a cornstarch slurry, something like that. We're not going to do that. Like I said, white wine reductions are always butter emulsions. And there are 3 types of emulsions. There's not permanent, there's semi-permanent, and there's permanent. I think mayonnaise is a permanent emulsion. This is not a permanent emulsion. If it cools too much, it will separate. If it heats too much, it'll separate. As long as it's the right temperature, it'll stay right where you want it, thick and saucy. Make sure that you're ready to make the sauce when you make the sauce. That's why I stopped when I realized my fish was not done, right? We are at the end stage. We got about 3 pads of butter left after this, and the butter is no longer frozen. Probably because of the set lights. It does get extra hot in here while filming. And now we're done. We have our sauce. Put it down. And I've put my fish right on top of it. A few lemon slices to pretty it up. My fish is a little ugly, and I didn't make the vegetables, but I did a good job. My sauce didn't break. Beurre Blanc. And now you know what the heck a white wine reduction is. Thank you for joining me. Remember, anybody can cook, especially you. Leave a comment down below if you want to see more stuff like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.